In a quiet corner of Brookfield City, a small diner sat nestled between an old bookstore and a laundromat. The neon sign above it buzzed softly, spelling out Bridgeton Family Diner, a place known more for its warm coffee than its modern decor. Inside, the place was alive with the clatter of plates, the low hum of friendly chatter, and the familiar smell of butter, toast, and frying bacon. But on this particular morning, something unusual was about to unfold, something that no employee in that diner had seen coming. Marcus Hill, the real owner of the diner, walked through the front door not as the boss, but as an ordinary customer. Dressed in a faded navy shirt, a worn baseball cap pulled low, and simple jeans, he looked nothing like the confident businessman who normally walked through the back entrance. Today he came with a mission: to see how his staff treated customers when they didn't know he was watching. For weeks, Marcus had been hearing rumors from customers about slow service, rude exchanges, and even waitresses openly complaining about tips. He didn't want to jump to conclusions without seeing it for himself. And so, under the disguise of a quiet customer grabbing breakfast, he slipped into a booth and pretended to blend into the background. Across the diner, waitress Nicole Williams was wiping down tables with the tired motions of someone who hadn't slept enough. She glanced up briefly, noticing Marcus but paying little attention. He looked ordinary enough, just another man coming in for coffee. She walked over with a half-hearted smile and set down a menu in front of him. "Good morning," she said, though her voice carried the kind of exhaustion that made it sound more like a formality. "Let me know what you want to order." Marcus nodded, keeping his tone low. "Just a plate of toast for now." Nicole blinked. "Toast? Just toast?" Marcus smiled lightly. "Yeah, toast will do." She sighed, scribbling down the order. "All right. Anything else?" "Not right now." She walked off, shaking her head slightly, muttering something under her breath about customers who don't order real food. Marcus noticed every detail: the tone, the body language, the dismissiveness, but he kept silent. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Marcus watched Nicole chatting with another waitress near the counter, scrolling on her phone for a moment before disappearing into the back room. Still no toast. Still no coffee. Customers around him were growing impatient as well. A man near the window tried to call out to her twice. A couple with a toddler waved their hands trying to get attention. But Nicole seemed in her own world, working only when it suited her. Finally, Marcus raised his hand slightly, hoping to catch her attention. She walked over with a look of mild annoyance. "Can I help you?" Marcus kept his voice polite. "Just checking on my toast." "It's been a while." She scoffed. "We're busy, sir." "It'll come when it comes." Marcus looked around. There were empty tables, only a few customers, and the kitchen staff waiting for orders. Busy didn't seem like the right word. Still, he nodded. Of course. She didn't apologize. She simply walked away. He waited another 10 minutes before the toast finally arrived. It was cold. Very cold. The butter sat unmelted on top, like it had been tossed onto the plate as an afterthought. Marcus took a slow breath, observing, processing, and mentally taking notes. That's when the most revealing moment happened. Nicole dropped the bill on his table. She didn't even look at him. "We don't get tips unless we work double shifts," she said loudly, as if rehearsed or intentionally guilt-driven. "So we really rely on customers to be generous." Marcus studied her carefully. "Is that right?" She nodded, crossing her arms. "Management doesn't care about how hard we work. They don't give us raises. We only survive on tips." Marcus felt a knot tighten in his chest. Not because tips were mentioned, he always encouraged tipping, but because she blamed management, meaning him, for things that were simply not true. He paid higher wages than most diners in the city. He offered bonuses. He covered medical emergencies. But if employees didn't appreciate it, or worse, lied about it to customers, then something was deeply wrong. Marcus reached for his wallet, pulling out a few bills, wanting to see how she reacted. She leaned forward eagerly. "We don't get tips unless we ask, so I always ask." He handed her the money. She didn't say thank you. Instead, she snatched it quickly and rushed away before he could say a word. At the counter, Marcus overheard her telling another waitress, "People only tip if you pressure them. Otherwise they act broke." The other waitress laughed. Marcus didn't, but he kept his cover intact. As he continued to sit in that booth, watching the employees interact, he witnessed things that only confirmed his earlier worries. Nicole ignored elderly customers, rolling her eyes at their questions. She openly argued with a cook because she didn't like the way he plated food. She pocketed cash tips without marking them into the system. She forgot orders, blamed coworkers, and even spoke badly about Marcus himself, calling him a cheap owner who didn't know how to run a business. Marcus sat still, calm, unmoving, but inside him, a storm brewed. If this was how she treated customers and coworkers when she thought nobody important was watching, what else was happening when he wasn't around? A few minutes later, another waitress named Mia approached Marcus's table. Unlike Nicole, she had a tired but sincere smile. "Sir, is everything okay? I noticed you didn't eat much of your toast." Marcus appreciated her tone. "It was a bit cold," he replied softly. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Would you like me to get you a fresh plate?" He shook his head. "No, thank you. I'm okay." She apologized again, genuinely this time. "Let me at least get you some warm coffee." "No charge." Marcus nodded. This was the kind of service he hoped all his employees gave. Warm, human, respectful. Mia returned with freshly brewed coffee, and Marcus thanked her. But Nicole saw it, and she wasn't happy. She approached Mia aggressively. "Why are you giving out free coffee? You trying to get us in trouble?" Mia stayed calm. "His food wasn't right. It's the least I could do." Nicole rolled her eyes. "You're too soft. Customers walk all over us because of people like you." Mia didn't respond. She simply continued working. Marcus watched the entire exchange, feeling a deep contrast between the two women. One served from kindness. The other served from resentment. The shift continued, and Marcus remained seated, pretending to sip his coffee while taking mental notes. Nicole kept up her attitude, her shortcuts, her complaints. She didn't know she was essentially digging her own grave. Because the man she thought was just another customer was actually the man who signed her paychecks. The man who owned every tile, every cup, every booth, every paycheck in that diner. And soon she would know the truth. But not yet. For now, Marcus continued observing quietly, watching, measuring, understanding. The real test was still coming. And Nicole had no idea her entire job was on the line. Marcus stayed seated a few minutes longer, letting the rhythm of the diner flow around him while he reflected on everything he had witnessed. This wasn't just about cold toast or bad service. It was about attitude, honesty, and respect values he built this diner on from day one. And yet here he was, watching one of his own employees tear those values apart like they meant nothing. He stood up slowly, leaving the empty cup behind, and walked outside as if he were simply leaving like any other customer. But he wasn't leaving. He was going to the back of the building, the place where he normally entered as the boss, not the undercover stranger. As he approached the back door, he pulled off his cap, straightened his shirt, and let the calm expression on his face return. This was not a moment of anger. It was a moment of clarity. He pushed the door open, and the kitchen staff glanced up in surprise. Mia nearly dropped a mug. "Mr. Hill? You're here today?" Marcus nodded. "Morning, everyone." Nicole, who had been leaning on the counter complaining to the cook about a cheap guy who only ordered toast, suddenly froze. Marcus looked directly at her. Her face turned pale, stiff, then nervous. "Mr. Hill?" she whispered. You weren't supposed to be in today." Marcus walked closer, his voice steady. "I know. I wanted to see the diner from a different point of view." Nicole swallowed hard. "Oh, did everything go okay?" He didn't answer the question. Instead, he addressed the entire staff. "Everyone, can you come to the dining area for a quick meeting?" The cooks, the dishwasher, Mia, and even Nicole reluctantly followed him. Customers watched with curiosity as employees gathered in a small circle near the center of the diner. Marcus looked around quietly before speaking. "I came in this morning undercover because I've heard some concerns. Not from management, from customers." A few employees exchanged glances. Marcus continued, "I want this diner to be a place where people feel welcomed, respected, and served with care. But today, I saw the opposite from at least one person." Nicole shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, if this is about the toast, this," Marcus cut her off gently but firmly, "is about everything." He turned toward her fully. "Nicole, when I walked in, you didn't greet me kindly. You ignored multiple customers. You blamed management for things that aren't true. You told customers the diner doesn't care about staff. You pressured for tips. You served cold food. You argued with coworkers. You spoke negatively about me." Nicole's lips trembled, her voice cracking. Sir, I didn't know it was you." "You shouldn't treat people well only when you think they're important," Marcus replied. "You should treat everyone with respect." Silence fell heavy over the diner. The staff watched, some nodding quietly because they, too, had felt the sting of Nicole's attitude many times before. Nicole tried again. "Sir, please, I didn't mean anything. I was just having a stressful day. I'm sorry." Marcus shook his head softly. "One stressful day doesn't excuse a pattern. And I saw how you treated Mia. I heard what you said about customers. I saw your attitude. That's not stress. That's behavior." Nicole's eyes welled up. "Are you firing me?" Marcus answered calmly. "Nicole, you're not being fired today. But you are being suspended effective immediately. 1 week. No pay. And when you come back, you will be retrained from the ground up. If I see even one more issue, we will part ways." "Clear?" Nicole nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. "Yes, sir." He stepped back, looking at the rest of the staff. "Let today be a reminder. We are a family. We support each other. We respect customers, every customer, whether they order one toast or a full meal." The employees nodded. Marcus continued, "And I want all of you to know something important. Your work matters. This diner exists because of the effort each of you put in. I'm grateful for that. So starting next month, we will be implementing a new performance bonus for those who consistently show good service." A wave of murmurs filled the room, pleasant ones. Mia looked shocked. The cooks exchanged surprised smiles. "But," Marcus added, "with rewards come expectations, kindness, effort, honesty, responsibility." He looked around the room one last time before dismissing them. "All right, back to work. Thank you for listening." As employees returned to their stations, Marcus motioned for Mia to stay. She stepped forward respectfully. "Yes, sir?" He smiled warmly. "Thank you for your kindness today. Your service reminded me of why I opened this diner in the first place." Mia blushed slightly. "I was just doing my job." "You did more than that," Marcus replied. "You treated me like a person, not a dollar sign. That matters." She nodded softly. "Thank you, Mr. Hill." Marcus stepped away to check the kitchen operations. As Mia returned to her section, Nicole approached her quietly. Her voice was softer than earlier, almost broken. "Hey, Mia?" Mia looked at her. "Yes?" Nicole swallowed hard. I'm Sorry for how I treated you. I guess I let the job get to me." Mia didn't smile, but she didn't turn away either. "Just try to do better," she said gently. Nicole nodded and walked out of the diner to start her suspension. Outside, she sat on the curb with her head in her hands. She had never expected the quiet toast guy to be the owner, and she never expected the consequences to come so fast or so publicly. Back inside, the diner slowly found its rhythm again. Customers ordered, cooks prepared meals, and Mia's warm energy seemed to lift the whole environment. But Marcus wasn't done yet. He went to a booth in the corner and motioned to an elderly man who had been coming to the diner for years. "Henry, can I ask you something?" The old man nodded. "Of course. What's on your mind, Marcus? How have things been lately? Be honest." Henry leaned back in his seat. "Well, it hasn't been the same. Some of the girls don't pay attention. Food takes too long. And I thought maybe you were too busy to notice." Marcus listened carefully. "You should always tell me," he said. "I want this place to feel like home." Henry smiled. "I knew you'd fix it. That's why I kept coming." Marcus shook his hand. "Thank you." The rest of the day, Marcus walked through the diner observing, training, encouraging, and reconnecting with the soul of the place he built. By afternoon, the atmosphere had changed. Employees stood taller. They worked with more intention. Customers smiled more easily. The energy had shifted. At closing time, Marcus gathered the staff again. "Everyone," he said, "today we faced some problems. But we also saw what this diner can become when everyone works together. Let's keep it that way." He dismissed them with a nod. Lights dimmed. Chairs went up. Dishes were washed. As the last employee left, Marcus took a long look around the diner. The booths, the counter, the chalkboard menu, all of it felt like a living memory of his mother, who taught him the value of hospitality. He locked the front door and stepped into the quiet night. The undercover morning had changed everything. Not just for Nicole, not just for the staff, but for Marcus too. It reminded him that leadership sometimes means stepping into the shoes of the people you serve. And sometimes, ordering just one piece of toast is enough to reveal the truth. The next morning, the diner reopened with fresh energy. Customers noticed the difference instantly. Mia smiled brighter. The cooks coordinated smoothly. The service was faster, friendlier, more connected. Word spread quickly. Regulars returned. New customers walked in. And on the side of the counter, Marcus stood quietly watching it all, proud, grateful, and more determined than ever to protect the heart of his diner. One undercover visit had changed everything. But in truth, it wasn't the disguise or the test that mattered. It was the reminder that kindness, respect, and integrity are the real ingredients that keep a diner alive. And Marcus Hill would make sure those ingredients never ran out again.